You know what they say, Dominic? The freaks come out at night.
Well, it looks like it.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, things might look a little different.
Just a little.
And honestly, even for audio, it might sound a little different.
Yeah,
Probably
true.
will.
True.
So, how do I say this? Well, obviously, I'm at my mom's house. You can see the pottery barn.
Yep, the decor, right?
Yeah, the decor, the white woman decor.
Yep.
So I'm here for a few days. Well, I'm here for tonight, and then I'm going on a trip, and then I'm coming back and staying another night. You guys don't care about that. Point is, I had to pack light for stuff that wasn't for my trip. So I packed my laptop and charger because I knew we needed to record an episode.
Right.
And then all hell broke loose.
That's no joke.
I mean, first, we're recording very late. So
yes,
time is of the essence.
Oh, yes, very.
However, the bigger issue was I did not realize how booty cheeks my audio is when I don't. The key to everything, people, was those big old beats that I've wore
every episode since we've been video.
Yeah, I mean that's 90 episodes.
90 episodes. Well, 89.
89. Yeah, it is I guess I didn't realize that it was the first time I hadn't wore them until Dominic's like, "Oh my god, I can hear myself. It sounds terrible."
Yeah,
and I'm just like, "What the fuck?" So we have rigged up a little system here that is going to work. So if you notice, there is an individual on the bottom there. That's me as well.
It is.
So the top right, what we did is I'm going to explain this.
This is great.
So what I have here, I have my phone right next to my laptop. My phones or my computer is what you're seeing me on up here. Yeah. Up here, this me.
I'm cracking up, dude.
But the audio on the computer is muted.
Right.
For me and for Dom.
Right.
However, I'm also on here on my phone. Hey, that's me on the bottom.
Yeah.
So I can hear Dominic through my phone, and I'm talking into my phone.
Yes.
So that is our system.
And you're going to have to deal with it for episode 190, 191, and our betting show.
At least it's not 200.
True.
But I guess before, I get it. You guys ain't here for this. You don't give a fuck. I mean, you just want us to talk about MMA. But look, I apologize, all right? Yeah. I was excited about the boys' trip to Tennessee. You know, whatever. I fucked up. But hey, it's not going to be the last time. So honestly, I think this is a good thing so you guys can get used to this.
Man, this is a heck of a compromise, if I'm being honest. I mean, we're really this anything for the content. We're showing our dedication. What I went through?
I put this fucking.
Yeah, he was working at McDonald's for a second.
I was fucking looking. I was looking like I was working night shift. Fucking there by Mickey D's.
Oh, this is
there's nothing wrong with that.
Here.
I have a lot of love and respect for our night shift workers at fast food restaurants.
True.
If you look at me, you can probably tell I frequented at those times. So, without further ado, you guys are here for UFC London, and we got a lot to talk about as far as that card goes. We also have a big fight announcement. Rose Namajunas' next title defense, and a couple other things. Francis Ngannou, knee surgery this week.
True.
But before we get into all of it, Dominic, I want you to talk about how you're doing, and then you can just segue it right into telling everybody, reminding everyone where they can follow us on social media.
Hey, I'm doing great, man. We're dwindling down to the end of the week here. UFC is back in London for the first time since 2019. It's going to be a great show. It's jam-packed, but like concise at the same time. You know, it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it, and I'm doing great. As far as our socials, where you can find us, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram at dslee14. More importantly, if you just look there at the bottom, if you're watching on YouTube, you can follow the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram at BAJ_MMA podcast.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at ntbaker_. There is a link in both those bios. It'll take you to a link tree. Gives you a whole bunch of links from the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube channel, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts as well. There's a couple links for today's sponsor, Anchor. Shout out to them. If you want to leave a voice message up to 60 seconds, anything and everything, the gloves are coming off for those. Also, there's a link on there if you want to become a financial supporter of the podcast. And we just appreciate any and all support, but the option's there. We appreciate it. So without further ado, Dominic, let's talk about UFC London.
Booyah.
But wait, we're talking about a little melee in the UK, baby.
That's right. Some drama.
Two of our combatants who are not fighting one another this weekend decided to get things started a little early. Ilia Topuria and Paddy Pimblett were in an altercation. As of this recording, it was like 2 days ago. I think it was Monday. So this is interesting. There's a lot of history between these two. These two have went back and forth on Twitter for a long time. I think even before Paddy was signed in the UFC, I think it's been a long time. But, there was a bit of an altercation, a scuffle. A hand sanitizer bottle was thrown.
Yeah.
Eggs were thrown.
Eggs?
Like scrambled eggs.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, Paddy was apparently he was cooking scrambled eggs, and that's what that was on the plate that Ilia just like fucking whacked at him.
That's the ideal way to take eggs, by the way, just saying.
Yeah, and a lot's been made of this situation. Obviously, not too much came of it. I think, kind of thankfully, because I don't want to lose either of those fights that these two have. But
yeah,
Dominic, is this a sign of a potential future fight? And was there a winner in this exchange, or is this just kind of just media and fans making it out more than it really is?
It definitely caught me off guard. Didn't see this coming at all. I think it could be foreshadowing. I mean, if anyone watched the MMA Hour on Wednesday, Ilia Topuria was on the show with Ariel, and he said whatever happens this weekend, win, lose, or draw for him or Paddy, he wants to fight Paddy in his very next fight. It seems that there's a real hatred there, especially on Ilia's side toward Paddy. I know some stuff was said maybe about his home country of Georgia and whatnot. I don't know all the details, but it seems pretty ugly. It seems legit. And when you have a personality like Paddy who's going to be able to draw eyes toward it, Ilia is kind of the lesser known, obviously, but he's an absolute stud when it comes to fighting in that cage. So I think we actually have the birth of a pretty solid rivalry here, Noah.
Yeah, and at first I was like, well, I wasn't super confident that we would get this fight soon because I was thinking, well, Topuria is probably going to keep trying to make waves at 145 and Paddy's, a lightweight, 10 pounds up. But I didn't realize that Topuria is fighting at 155 pounds for this fight with Jai Herbert. So I think there's a really good chance that this is the next fight for both guys. And if I'm being honest, I know I've been kind of the Paddy Pimblett truther, the denier. I do like him. I just think he's very green compared to his popularity, I guess. I don't think that's a very good matchup for him right now. I think Ilia Topuria is so well-rounded already.
He's so good.
Yes, I know Topuria doesn't have a ranking, but he's kind of floated around that 15 spot. I think they gave it back to him after Caceres lost last weekend. It was very interesting because Paddy Pimblett signed with Barstool Sports, and all the Barstool personalities were posting this video and talking, hyping up Paddy, and rightfully so. That's their guy. But a lot of the stoolies in the comments, man, they were like, "Oh, Paddy would wash this guy in 10 seconds and stuff because they don't know who he is." I'm like, guys, this dude. I'm not saying Paddy wouldn't win. I know I've underestimated him, but that is. If that fight happens, that'll be very interesting.
Oh, 100%.
But I guess we'll just move on to the real main event that's taking place this weekend. It appears it's all holding intact. Alexander Volkov will fight Tom Aspinall in the main event here at London. I know there was a lot of hoopla made about Volkov potentially not being able to fly in. He is a Russian fighter. UFC wanted to try to get him out there early. He didn't take him up on the offer, so they had a backup in place, which I don't know if he ever got confirmed it was Marcin Tybura, but I believe that's the candidate. But doesn't look like it's going to be needed. Volkov versus Aspinall. Dominic, your thoughts on this main event and what it means for both guys?
This is a big fight, man. Literally, actually, Volkov is 6'7", Aspinall 6'5", but this is such a battle. I love everything about it. I'm more Aspinall on this show. It's been so cool to essentially follow his whole UFC career since we've been doing this podcast, and I love this guy. I think he's a future champion. I really do. But this is by far his biggest leap, his biggest test. Volkov's been there. He's been a Bellator heavyweight champion. He's got like 40 professional fights. He has an underrated 8-3 record in the UFC, by the way. We always feel like we talk about that when Volkov fights, but it's the truth, man. He's a puzzle because you don't see many other guys that are as long and as tall as him. When he puts it together, I should say when he's on, but when he loses, it's usually pretty convincing as well. But regardless, I think this is Aspinall's time to shine. They put him in this headlining spot for a reason. It's in London, where he's from. This place is going to be going nuts. This is going to be his 5th UFC fight ever. He's fighting number 6, and he's in a main event. It's a pretty big deal, man. I think this is going to be a stand-up war. Tom Aspinall is well-rounded. Don't forget that. But the way that the styles clash here, I think we're going to see stand-up for as long as it goes. Really could see finishes from either guy. That's why the odds are pretty close on this. Honestly, they've moved a lot because at the beginning of the week, Aspinall was like a plus 120. So it's reverted all the way to him being a minus 125. I love this fight so much, Noah. I was big on it when they converted to this one from what Aspinall's original opponent was. And I have no complaints, my man.
Yeah, I love this matchup too, but actually for slightly different reasons, or I guess different predictions in my head for how it's going to go. I actually do think Tom Aspinall might try to use the full skill set. Not that I don't think he can't compete on the feet with Volkov, but I think it might end up being in his better interest to try to take that fight to the ground.
Right.
The most one-sided loss Volkov's had in his career was to Curtis Blades. I mean, Blades, that was a very tough loss for Volkov. Really showed nothing on his back. Got taken down pretty easy. I know Curtis Blades, probably the best wrestler in the whole division. But besides that, you have a loss in the UFC to Derek Lewis, which was a fight that he dominated until Lewis had that Hail Mary KO in the last 10 seconds of the fight. And then he had the whole my balls was hot. Just his career took off after that. And last summer, Volkov and Ciryl Gane had a very competitive, but ultimately, according to the scorecards, decisive victory for Ciryl Gane, and rightfully so. A fight that was fought entirely on the feet. But you look at some of Volkov's. I mean, let's not forget how he looked against Alistair Overeem. I know
best we've ever seen.
No longer in the UFC, but that was an Overeem that, with a win, might have been getting himself another title shot. I mean, he was on a roll.
Yep.
And Volkov looked so good. There was more power in his punches. That's always been kind of my thing with Volkov, is he's such a high-volume striker, but for heavyweight, he doesn't quite pack the punch like you would want him to.
Right.
That's kind of why I feel like he lost the Derek Lewis fight, because he didn't quite have the power to put Lewis away, and then all it took was one bomb, and that was it.
Yeah.
But Volkov has showed to be more durable outside of that fight. I do think he's going to be a tough matchup in terms of trying to get that fight to the ground, just because I don't expect Aspinall right now to be a better wrestler than Curtis Blades. And because of that, I'm sure that'll, give him a little bit of trouble trying to take that fight down. But he's going to be the bigger guy in terms of pure mass.
Yeah, he is thick.
He will have a strength advantage, I would imagine. I would look for him to use it, try to close distance, bully Volkov a little bit against the fence.
Yeah.
Try to drag him down that way. But you're kind of right. I mean, when I first saw the odds early this week, I was kind of shocked. And obviously they were kind of flipped at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the longer I've sit and thought about it, I kind of agree with the odds, just because, yes, we all have very high hopes for Tom Aspinall, but it's a pretty big jump. I mean, Shamil Abdurakhimov, no disrespect, a good fighter, but it's quite a leap to go from him to the pedigree of someone like Alexander Volkov. And
yes,
there's a lot of weight on Aspinall's shoulders. This is the first time UFC's been in London in a long time. He's the main event. It's his first. 5-round main event. How's he going to look if this fight goes into rounds 3, 4, 5? That'll be very interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a fantastic fight. And, Aspinall with the win, especially if he can do it decisively or even get a finish, really get the crowd on his side, he's going to find himself in the upper echelon of heavyweights.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, too. I was listening to an interview with Brett earlier with Tom, and this whole kind of thing that I've respected so much about Tom is that he realizes how good he is, but how good he needs to be to compete with like these top 5 guys. But here he is now, and it's like to his own doing, because you've been doing so good, you are getting launched into the top 10 regardless now, no matter what you wanted. And now he just has to live up to the hype. He's never even fought in front of a crowd, Noah, bigger than 1,000 people.
Wow.
Now he's going to fight in front of the O2 20,000 people in London. First time in 3 years they've had an event.
Did not think about that. That is crazy.
Yeah, insane.
He seems so calm about it too. So like
Yes.
he really doesn't seem to be feeling the pressure, which I know everybody could put on a good poker face, but he really seems to be like ready for this moment.
Yeah, I agree, man. I do.
Our co-main event.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, very close on the odds. It very much tells the story here. Not sure what's going to happen when Arnold Allen, perhaps the most underrated fighter in this featherweight division, he will take on Dan Hooker, the number 8 ranked lightweight, who is coming back down to 145 pounds, a division that he started his UFC career in. Dominic, I said Arnold Allen's the most underrated fighter in this division, and I would assume that you might agree with that, and you can give your thoughts. But I think the bigger story here is what do we expect from Dan Hooker here in a division where he moved up for a reason? He was massive as a featherweight. I mean, he's a lanky guy, and now he's going back down. Your expectations for him, are you nervous about how he's going to look, or are you pretty confident that the Hangman might really be at his full capacity here against Arnold Allen?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I think that plays a lot into why these odds are so close, because people don't really know what to expect. He seems to look good from his cuts, but there's also pictures where he just doesn't look great. At the end of the day, he's a 6 foot tall guy trying to cut to 145. It's not going to be easy, regardless of his new, nutrition that he's on to make this cut. But it's very much kind of how I viewed, he started at featherweight, right? He went 3-3, stagnated, and then he went to lightweight, had a lot of success, but now he's been relatively stagnant at lightweight. However, the competition he's been facing has been absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be slept on there. But he realizes, I'm kind of in no man's land. What do I do? Now he's coming back to 145 again. So it's a very interesting move, relatively late into his career. He's only 32, but he's been fighting in the UFC for a long time. He has 18 fights in the company. He hasn't fought at 145 pounds since 2016, man. So I want him to make this weight. I want him to look healthy come Friday morning, obviously. And, we know kind of how he fights. He is good everywhere. He's a great striker. He showed an ever-improving skill set with his grappling. And he's going to need all of that, because Arnold Allen, like you said, might be the most underrated fighter in the featherweight division and one of the most in the entire UFC. He's 17-1. He's 8-0 in the UFC, and he's won 10 in a row if you go outside of the UFC. And half of his wins are by finish. And he's 28 years old, right in the middle of his prime. He's very, very good. And I don't think people realize that, because he has a lot of decision wins in the UFC. He doesn't necessarily go out there and finish people. But this guy is the complete package, man, when I look at Arnold Allen. And that's why this is such a tough fight for Dan Hooker to come back to. But this is still going to be Arnold Allen's biggest test in the octagon, even though he's ranked number 7. So
yeah, so obviously I can tell by the way you're talking, like we're on the same page. We both think Arnold Allen has a very high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
But my question for you, if Dan Hooker is the best version of himself, is he better than Arnold Allen at his current state?
That's a great question, because have we even seen the best version of Dan Hooker, especially at like 145 pounds? If he can come in here and decisively beat Arnold Allen, I would say yes, because I think Dan Hooker still does have a decently high ceiling, being that he's only 32, and he can still make a shot at a title run, man.
Okay, sorry, let me rephrase. What I mean is, like, if you were to, you're saying how you think the odds are this close. A lot of the reason being maybe because some people are unsure of what Dan Hooker we're going to get. Is he going to be gutted from trying to cut that weight and just be a very compromised, maybe lackluster performance? Right. Or is he going to be like the guy who really took it to Nasrat Haqparast or Ally Quina, wins like that, and had that war with Paul Felder, went to war with Dustin Poirier? My question is, if Dan Hooker is the best version of himself, like that we've seen up to this point, like premier top lightweight, the guy who nearly beat Dustin Poirier in 2020, is that a better fighter than Arnold Allen right now? So it's like to you, is it in your mind, is that like we know Arnold Allen's very good, but like he's going to get better, I think, is what we're saying. So
yes.
Right now for me, like I think you just said yes. So like I agree with you. That's why I'm asking, because if I thought for sure we were going to get Dan Hooker at his best, I would probably be on the betting show putting money on Dan Hooker. Like I think he's that good. But I'm not confident that that's what we're going to get. There's a reason why he couldn't continue in this weight class, and it kind of fizzled out before having some resurgence at lightweight. Arnold Allen is so comfortable in this weight class, so fitted for this weight class, that it's a tall task.
It is. It is very, very much so. But I do like your point. I see your question now. And I would say yes, because simply at the end of the day, like I already said, this is going to be Arnold's biggest test. So if he can't pass it, regardless of who it is, regardless if they're moving a weight class, Dan Hooker would just be the better guy at this point in time. And the ceiling is always still going to be there. So Dan Hooker has a lot to prove, to show that he's not just some guy that's, what do I do with my career? He doesn't want to be put into that kind of bottle. And for Allen, he just needs to prove that I am legit. I'm number 7 for a reason. You're going to know my name after I beat Dan Hooker. There's a lot on the line, a lot of storylines for this fight. This is probably, honestly, this might be the most important fight on the card in terms of just the careers of both guys.
Yeah, because, I mean, Dan Hooker, you look at the way his careers went, and he's sort of at a crossroads. I mean, the end of his lightweight run wasn't as kind to him as, many others, while Arnold Allen is really just looking to get more respect, more eyes on him. This is his biggest fight, his biggest placement in this co-main event spot. Very intriguing to see how both guys respond to that.
Yes, I love it.
Our feature bout sees that Dawsa, I don't know what he said.
The Scouser.
Paddy Pimblett, in his second fight in the UFC, he has taken on Kazula Vargas. Obviously, Paddy Pimblett, a massive favorite here. Yeah. And Dominic, I think my question just right off the top, I know we don't really focus on the odds on this show. You can check out the nosebleeds coming out Friday if you want more of the betting line discussion. But do you, in your mind, when you evaluate this fight, is Kazula Vargas being rightfully overlooked due to not just the star power Paddy Pimblett, but the potential and just maybe how much better he is? Or is he really about to bring a fight to Paddy that we even like Luigi brought a little bit, but maybe even more so?
Yeah, I 100%. I mean, if Luigi did what he did, I think Kazula Vargas can present the same threats, if I'm being honest, if not more so. Now, I know that was Paddy's UFC debut. There are probably some jitters and whatnot, but this guy's used to the limelight. I don't think it played too much into that. I just think he got caught off guard with how Luigi was skilled and had power. So if he underestimates Vargas here, he could really find himself in some trouble, man. Paddy, that is. But overall, the odds do say a lot. Paddy is super well-rounded. He's super talented. He's young. He's in his prime. The crowd's going to be going nuts for him there. He's very brash. He's very confident. And all that plays into a money line at, 5-1 odds. And he does have the skill set to back it up. He has the skill set to win. But yes, Vargas can cause problems if Pimblett's not careful. That I believe very much.
I think you're right, but I would say Kazula Vargas is a little bit better than Luigi Vendramini, but I'm not so sure that it's like when I first saw this fight get announced instead of the Jared Gordon fight, I thought it was kind of a lateral step. It was, which I'm okay with, because again, I think Paddy Pimblett's pretty green.
Yeah.
So for the UFC to bring him along slowly, I think is probably a good idea.
Yep.
But I have a hard time seeing where Kazula Vargas is really going to present a threat unless Paddy. It feels like if Kazula Vargas really shocks the world here and gets this win, it's going to be more due to the negatives in Paddy's game being exposed rather than anything Kazula Vargas does extremely well. That
makes sense.
No disrespect. He's actually, at first when I saw the fight get announced, I think we might even said it on the show where it was like, who? You look at his resume, yes, I think he's 1-2 in the UFC, but the resume is a little bit better than it looks, when you the lack of name value and also you look at the fights. But again, I haven't seen anything that tells me that he's, got a super high ceiling, which no matter what I say about Paddy, I can definitely agree he's got a high ceiling.
Yeah, very much.
More on these fights. We do have more on this card, I should say, in a little bit. We're going to transition into one fight announcement.
Pretty big one.
The co-main event of UFC 274.
Finally.
For the women's strawweight title, Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza run it back. Was it 7 years?
7 years, I think. Yeah, 2014.
From the first fight.
2015, something like that.
So obviously this is the rightful fight. I think everybody can agree Carla Esparza earned her title shot. She should have got this probably before the Weili Zhang rematch, but whatever, I get it. But here we are. Carla Esparza won the first matchup.
Yep.
Now Rose, their careers have gone. I mean, these ladies, their careers went completely different directions. But however, they find themselves here.
Yep.
Mano a mano. Rose Namajunas sort of went under the radar for a while before she earned a title shot against Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 217. Shocked the world, put her to sleep, made her tap the punches. Shouldn't say put her to sleep, TKO, but made her tap the punches.
Right.
Then defeated her again. However, she lost the title in that fight. She was dominating the Jessica Andrade before getting slammed on her head. Got the belt again with another shocking KO of Zhang Weili.
Yep.
While Carla Esparza was our OG women's strawweight champion, she lost in emphatic fashion to the aforementioned Joanna Jędrzejczyk. In a sense, kind of just grinded her way back here. I mean, she's had some losses on the way, had some wins, maybe not been the most exciting fighter, but she's earned every bit of this title shot, Dom. Do you agree?
Yes, 100%, man. I mean, she's won 5 in a row, and when she finished Yan Xiaonan the way she did, I knew that she had to be next, and she should have been before Zhang Weili. I get it, though. That rematch was big, but I love everything about this fight. The storylines are beautiful, They were in that inaugural strawweight fight years and years ago. They've went on 2 completely opposite paths. They fought every single person in this division, I feel like. They've never moved up. They've never moved down. They stayed in this weight class for years. And now they're right back at the epitome of their weight class, the peak. And they're going to meet again for a rematch, man. Rose wants revenge from many years ago. Carla wants to prove she's still legit and can be a title holder. I love everything about this fight. Stylistically, it's a great fight because Carla is an amazing grappler. Rose is super underrated on the ground. I mean, I love it. There's no gripes. There's nothing that you won't hear me praise in terms of this fight.
Yeah, it's a great addition to that card. And
Yes.
I just want to, and I'll say this more when that fight actually comes up for preview time, but Carla Esparza just deserves so much credit for being able to work her way back here. Nobody thought when she dropped that title to Joanna that she would ever be back in the title picture. I mean, you looked at the way she lost. I don't think you can imagine a worse way to lose your title shot. Utterly dominated. Did not show a shred of offense, defense, anything. But she put her head down, her nose down, or whatever they say, and grinded. She got the work. She got better. She did it under our noses a little bit. She did on a lot of prelim cards. She had a lot of split decisions, some tough fights where she came up short, but big wins and capped it off with a dominant performance over Yan Xiaonan, a fight that I think a lot of people thought Xiaonan was going to win.
Including myself.
and myself as well. But yeah, I'm very happy this fight is being booked. That's all I can say.
Amen.
And now some things we missed. Just a couple quick news stories here. Francis Ngannou, our heavyweight champion, he is to undergo knee surgery this week, Dominic.
Oh.
That will see him out for 9 months. Interesting timing.
Yeah, you don't say.
That recovery finds him around January 2023, which is also when his contract would come up. Obviously, this sucks that he's going to be out. I mean, I think we kind of were expecting one way or another. Ngannou probably wasn't going to fight the rest of this year.
Yeah.
But now that it's confirmed, an injury, the surgery, the recovery time is going to be the main reason for that. Does this make you reevaluate anything about the current situation we're in with Ngannou? Or is this just kind of, is it just kind of the what are they, like the official, like we can just officially say, okay, we will not see him the rest of this year. Now maybe we can focus on an interim belt or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was already in the mindset of we're going to have an interim belt, and this all but just confirms it, if I'm being honest. First and foremost, shout out to Francis. Hopefully it all goes well. Hopefully he can recover well. Who knows if we'll see him in the UFC octagon again? I sure hope so. But yeah, the heavyweight division is a mess, but it is very healthy and vibrant right now at the same time, which it hasn't been like this in a while, so that's nice. We will see an interim title fight sometime down the line this year. Your guess is as good as mine as to who's going to be in the fight, because there's been rumors. We don't know if John Jones is fighting. We don't know what Stipe's doing. Tai Tuivasa's in title contention now, by the way. Cyril Gane's still there. Curtis Blades fights Chris Dawkins next week in Columbus. We'll be at that. There's a lot of shit going on, a lot of moving parts in this division. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show, my friend.
Yeah, that Stipe Tai Tuivasa rumored matchup that we didn't discuss, but didn't see anybody. It seemed like that story just kind of took off, man. And I'm not sure if there was really a lot of credibility behind it.
Yeah.
Crazier things would happen than that fight being booked, if I'm being honest.
That's true.
Also, one more thing. Kevin Holland.
Salute this man.
This man, for the second time, took on an armed assailant. I don't know the terminology here. Basically, a man started firing rounds into some sort of sushi restaurant or something. Kevin Holland, along with two other individuals, disarmed him. This is the second time Kevin Holland has done something like this. My question, Dominic, is Kevin Holland better at taking out bad guys than he is the guys that he faces in the octagon?
Oh, goodness. Shots fired there, Noah.
Wait,
hey.
No. Sorry. I know Kevin Holland didn't have the best 2021, but I promise that was in good faith.
Okay, cool. Hey, what I will say, though, he shows some jiu-jitsu and wrestling against these guys. He took him down, apparently put him in a rear naked choke is what he was saying in the interviews there. So, listen, this is a truly inspiring story. These MMA males and females, they are superhuman at times, it seems like. And Kevin Holland, he's done this. I forget. The other one was like a carjacking or something. He stopped a guy from stealing his car or something.
Yeah.
So Kevin Holland, right place, right time, and he's saving people's lives. He's saving vehicles. He's doing it all. He's been calling himself Batman and shit. I've loved seeing all the memes and whatnot on Twitter. So yeah, I mean, what an amazing guy. What an amazing story. Really, what more can you even say about Kevin Holland?
Yeah,
one of the biggest characters there is.
This is one of those things that's like bigger than sports, right? Like it's not. But if I may just say that this does completely continue to like build his everything, the star power. It's all it's all been bubbling. It's all kind of there. Yes, he had this couple losses last year, but shit like this, I mean, this is superhero shit. This is you don't see this from everyday people.
Exactly.
But yeah, shout out Kevin Holland. But anyways, we're gonna talk about more UFC London. Let's start with Gunnar Nelson, a name that has been a mist for 3 years or 2.5 years, maybe.
Yeah.
I believe it was August 2019 the last time he fought. He's back and taking on Takashi Sato. Dominic, your expectations for Gunnar Nelson's return fight?
I'm I'm skeptical. I'm a little pessimistic, but he's always been a fun fighter to watch, man. I mean, he's a finisher. He's a great submission ace. His grappling's next level. Uh, when anybody's off 2.5 years, I think you have to be a little just like, what are we going to see here? But Takashi Sato, he hasn't fought since November of 2020, so he's been on a layoff too. So really, what the hell is going to happen in this fight? I don't really know. I do think it's going to end in a finish for either guy. I think it might be fun, whether it's on the feet, whether it's in the grappling realm, which I think it'll be more so. But it's odd because Gunnar Nelson, he went into this hiatus on a 2-fight skid, but it was to Leon Edwards and
Gilbert Burns.
Thank you, Gilbert Burns. So I mean,
and the Leon Edwards fight was a split decision.
True, and it was in London too. That fight was so. It's just it's odd, man, because he is good. He's beaten good competition, so the layoff doesn't hurt him. I know he's had injuries, and I'm sure other things have caused him to be out. But he's still only 33, so there is still hope to maybe he can put a little something together here. But he has to get through Takashi Sato first. I know Sato doesn't have the cleanest of records, but he's a very dangerous fighter.
Yeah, a dangerous opponent for sure. I think it's an appropriate opponent for a return fight for someone of Gunnar Nelson's caliber.
Yeah.
He, to me, even if though when he left, I don't know if he was quite ranked or whatever, but you look at the losses and then you look at how dominant he would look at times against guys like Alan Jouban, and he would have these great wins where he looked so vicious and just like a pit bull just attacking you with the submissions. And
so good.
But then you look at like his loss to Santiago Ponzinibbio. He got pummeled.
Yeah.
Now the Leon Edwards fight, I don't remember it really. I don't remember if that split decision was earned or not. It might have been a bad scorecard. But the fact that he's hanging in there with guys of championship caliber, Edwards and Burns, I think it shows that he does have, at least when he left, he had a lot left to give.
Yes.
I'm not sure why the layoff has taken this long. Obviously, we had an entire pandemic that is still, I guess, going on in the middle of all that. So maybe that was one of the reasons. But he's back here now. I'm skeptical as well. And you'll notice that on the betting side for sure. I did not put any money on this fight. I'm just not very confident either which way because Gunnar Nelson should beat Takashi Sato.
Right.
But you're right. The long layoff, why is he coming back? Now I have to ask questions like
that's a great question.
Nick Diaz come back. I know completely different fighters, situations. Nick Diaz was like 5, 6 years. 6 years. But after that, it just made me go, okay, like, why is Gunnar Nelson coming back? He's another John Kavanaugh guy. A lot of those guys haven't been doing too well in the UFC as of late.
Mm-hmm.
There's some signs. There's some red flags, but some of it might be made up in my own head. As I'm saying, there's a lot of assumptions I'm kind of making there. Really, I'm just excited for the fight because I just don't know what I'm going to see. But I hope for a good fight either way.
Yeah, for sure.
Following that, Jai Herbert, Ilia Topuria, the other man in that scuffle. This is a very interesting fight because I'm very high on Ilia Topuria.
Agreed.
Very high. I think his skill set is so well-rounded already. I think he's kind of like this Pandora's box waiting to be unloaded on the tops of this. Well, I guess now he's moved. I don't know if this lightweight move is permanent. I would say maybe it will be with the Paddy Pimblett fight coming up because he did miss weight.
He said on the MMA Hour that he had a meeting with the UFC and that they're allowing him to go back and forth. But yes, if he fights Paddy, that would also be at 155.
Yeah. So hey, I'd be down for that as well. I think some guy you saw Hamzat do it for a little bit. I mean, why not? So my knee-jerk reaction was to be like, oh, Topuria all the way.
Right.
Just because he's getting an unranked opponent in Jai Herbert. But Herbert, while he had a bit of a slow start to his UFC career, or at least some roadblocks in the way, he had some tough losses, he's coming off an exceptional win. He looked fantastic in his last fight. I can't remember who he fought, but he looked really good.
Yeah.
Now, the thing here is Jai Herbert is very good striker.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he's probably a better striker than Topuria. I mean, that might not even need to be said. It's probably the case. But Herbert is still, as of now, not been able to fully flesh out that entire game. That's why I think Topuria is just a great pick. He's a big favorite. I just think he has more weapons, more methods to victory. Herbert's an interesting pick. Like, it's an interesting guy here because, again, he's another one of these guys from the UK. He's, got the home crowd advantage, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But I don't believe Topuria will be phased. And if anything, I think the scuffle and whatnot with Paddy might just make him want to really show people even more what a dog he can be.
Yeah, I definitely have my questions going into this fight. Again, it is at 155, so we've never seen Topuria there. And no, when you point out Herbert's striking, well, when you add on to that, no, he's going to have a 6-inch height advantage, an 8-inch reach advantage. So Topuria is going to have to close the distance. He's a great striker in his own right, but this is a whole new ball game here when you're talking about a lightweight striker that is going to be this long and that tall. Topuria is a great grappler as well. That honestly might be his better route to victory. I don't know if he wants to stand, because if he can't close the distance, he could be in some trouble, man. So be on the lookout for the size difference in this fight. Topuria is like a minus 550 favorite, which is crazy. Herbert could pull off a big upset.
Couple of ranked light heavyweights low on this card. Well, I think it's on the main card, but Nikita Krylov, a man that I personally made a big blunder with on this podcast. I said that I didn't think he was a very exciting fighter and that I not a high finisher. And that was mostly off of recency bias. A fan corrected me and was like, I don't know about that. Look at his finishing rate. And that is something to behold.
Yeah.
Quite a blind spot on my Nikita Krylov history because he's going up against Paul Craig. I feel like we've seen Nikita Krylov at his best. Whether or not he is still in that form here, I feel like where he's at now, he's peaked.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a chance that the same can be said for Paul Craig, if I'm being honest.
Okay, that's
I think
fair.
Paul Craig, he's coming off of a great performance against Jamal Hill with the arm flapping in the wind. That was his last fight, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, the stock on Paul Craig is at an all-time high right now, I think, just because, he looked so good there. And that's really been a story for him in his career. He has such a fun fight style that but I don't know if he has the tools to really be a champion. He doesn't really like to get hit. He obviously makes it very clear where he wants to take his fights, and he is so good when you get there, and it's such a mismatch for some people because that type of style is not prevalent in this light heavyweight division. But he does have kind of that glaring weakness where, it's at least been questioned at times, his willingness to take a punch. How many can he really take? What's his durability level? No doubt, I love Paul Craig. I would be very excited if he could make a big push here. But Nikita Krylov is a guy, again, I've underestimated him. I think a lot of people might be underestimating him a little bit. Might have the more well-rounded game. Probably has the experience advantage as well.
Yes.
It's a very interesting fight. I don't know if Krylov's last few fights do tell a story. It might not be the focus if you look at his career as a whole. Again, he's a very high finisher, but the last 3 or 4 fights, I think, have all went to a decision. It might be a sign that we've seen the best of him pass.
Yeah, you make very valid points there. It's interesting too. These guys have been in the division forever, but never fought each other. So it's an interesting stylistic clash. It's weird too because Nikita, he has 15 submission wins, not even counting all the knockouts that he has. But when he loses, he can get submitted easily too. So if this goes to the ground, I don't know if he's going to be willing to grapple with Paul. So it could be quite literally turned into a striker grappler, even if on paper that's not the case,
Yeah, very true. Couple of big prospects for the bantamweight division, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Jack Shore, Timur Valiev.
Oh man,
I've been riding high on Jack Shore for a while. again, hasn't been in the most exciting of fights. Again, he's got a very high fight IQ. He knows where he is best suited to win a fight. He doesn't take much damage. His takedowns are fantastic, and he is a problem. But Timur Valiev is a very good fighter, coming off of I believe he's coming off a really good fight against I can't remember who he fought last, but it was a really good fight, and I remember it was a really good opponent. But it's kind of what put Valiev on the map a little bit. And now I think we're starting to ask ourselves, wait a minute, maybe Timur Valiev is a name we need to watch out for. So I think this is great matchmaking. Two guys who hardcore fans are aware of, but casual fans are still kind of wondering why they should care. And I think one of these guys is going to come out here and show you why you should care.
Yeah, this is a phenomenal fight. One of the biggest fights to watch out for on this stacked card that we're getting in London. Jack Shore, undefeated, 15-0, never lost. Tamir, is on a 9-fight unbeaten streak. I mean, these guys have tons of momentum coming into this fight. Good everywhere, right? It's that next wave, that next evolution of fighter. And they're at 135 pounds, which is arguably the best division in the UFC, right next to the lightweight. So I love everything about it. It's a great fight.
The last one, our opener, first fight of the evening, a name that's been on our radar for a while. A lot of people have been talking about him, Muhammad Mokaev, making his UFC debut. Very young guy here in the flyweight division. He's going up against Cody Durden, who probably made more headlines for his post-fight speech than the actual win itself. Mokaev specifically requested this fight.
Yep.
Cody Durden's good. But is he going to make maybe a bit of be careful what you ask for when he started lipping off after his last win?
It very well could play out that way, man. I'm very excited to see Muhammad into the octagon and see what it's all about. I mean, he's undefeated. He's finished 4 out of 6. He was a phenomenal wrestler. He's from Dagestan, fights out of the UK. Dude, he's 21 years old.
That's
I mean,
crazy. I knew he was young. I couldn't remember how young he was, but yeah.
It's unreal. I mean, yes, Cody's going to have the experience. He's been in the UFC for a little bit, man, but if Mokaev lives up to all this hype, he may just come in and catapult himself right into his UFC debut and make a big splash. Very much excited to see. That's the opening fight of the whole card, by the way, too.
Yeah, it's a great fight to open the card, so people, make sure you are watching. It's on the East Coast. It starts at 1 o'clock, I believe.
Oh,
Saturday.
yeah, baby. Ooh, brunch and
early,
fight.
Early card. For you guys that are actually in the UK, I don't know what time it is. You guys figure it out. No, but that's going to wrap it up here for this weekend preview edition. Thank you all for, bearing with me as I kind of flub up the next 3 episodes with my, my schedule, my lack of planning ahead, all the doodads. And thank you to my co-host for bearing through the late night here. We got one more to record after this. So no sign off here besides to say, I'm Noah Baker. That's my boy Dominic Salee. We're the Below Average Joes, and we'll see you Monday.
Monday. Yeah, Monday. See you Monday.
Fuck.